Lev HaPark emerges from Raanana's landscape as something distinctly contemporary, a planned neighborhood that represents the city's expansion and evolution into the 21st century. The name itself, meaning Heart of the Park, gestures toward the aspirational quality of this development, though the reality involves a certain geographical creativity since the neighborhood sits at the eastern edge of the city rather than near Raanana Park proper. This is New Israel, master-planned communities rising where agricultural land once stretched, designed to accommodate the growing population of young families drawn to Raanana's reputation while addressing the perpetual shortage of housing that characterizes Israeli real estate markets. Walking through Lev HaPark feels unmistakably different from older Raanana neighborhoods, with wider streets laid out in organized patterns rather than the organic growth that characterizes established areas. The buildings themselves carry the signature of contemporary Israeli residential construction, mid-rise towers of 6 to 10 stories featuring modern architectural elements like large windows, balconies with glass railings, and ground-floor commercial spaces intended to create pedestrian-friendly streetscapes. The color palette tends toward earth tones and grays, with occasional accent walls in bolder colors, attempting to break the monotony of repetitive construction while maintaining a cohesive aesthetic across the development. Everything looks clean and fresh, the concrete not yet weathered by decades of Mediterranean sun and winter rains, the landscaping still young and sparse, waiting for trees to mature into the shade-providing canopies that make older neighborhoods so pleasant. The demographic profile of Lev HaPark skews heavily toward young families, typically in their late 20s through early 40s, many purchasing their first homes in Israel or upgrading from rental apartments elsewhere. You encounter a mix of Sabra Israelis and immigrants from various countries, with a notable Anglo presence among the international residents drawn by Raanana's reputation and the relative affordability of new construction compared to established neighborhoods. These are couples where both partners often work, frequently in high-tech or other professional fields, who see Lev HaPark as an investment in their future, even as they navigate the complexities of Israeli mortgages, building timelines, and the inevitable gaps between developer promises and delivered reality. The commercial infrastructure in Lev HaPark remains under development, with the vision of a self-contained neighborhood slowly materializing as ground-floor retail spaces find tenants and service providers recognize the growing population as a viable market. Early residents found themselves dependent on driving to other parts of Raanana for basic shopping and services, but gradually small supermarkets, pharmacies, and other essential businesses have opened, creating the beginnings of local commercial life. Coffee shops and restaurants follow, catering to young professionals seeking convenient breakfast options before work commutes, or families wanting simple dinner solutions after long days. The pace of commercial development lags behind residential construction, a common pattern in Israeli planned communities that creates initial frustration for residents who imagined walkable access to amenities. For Anglo families, Lev HaPark presents both opportunities and challenges distinct from more established neighborhoods. The newness means fewer established Anglo networks and institutions, requiring residents to be more proactive in building community connections rather than simply plugging into existing social infrastructure. Early Anglo families here often become inadvertent community organizers, starting WhatsApp groups, arranging playdates, and hosting gatherings that lay foundations for the social networks subsequent arrivals will benefit from. There's something pioneering about this experience, creating community from scratch rather than joining established patterns, though it demands energy and initiative that not everyone possesses after exhausting days managing work, children, and the general challenges of Israeli life. The housing stock in Lev HaPark consists primarily of apartments in mid-rise buildings, with layouts reflecting contemporary Israeli standards that emphasize open-plan living areas and relatively generous balconies, while bedroom sizes remain modest by American or British standards. 3- and 4-bedroom units dominate the market, designed for young families with children who need space but can't afford or don't want large private homes. Prices at initial sales ranged from approximately 2 to 3 million shekels, depending on size and specific location within the development, representing moderate savings compared to established Raanana neighborhoods, while still requiring substantial financial commitment. Many purchasers bought off-plan, committing to apartments before construction completed, accepting the risks inherent in Israeli real estate development in exchange for potentially better pricing and first choice of available units. The experience of moving into brand new apartments carries particular textures for families accustomed to older housing stock. Everything works initially, plumbing doesn't leak, windows seal properly, and modern fixtures provide the conveniences of contemporary living. Yet Israeli construction standards differ from Western expectations in ways that surprise newcomers, with thinner walls transmitting neighbor noise more readily than anticipated, electrical systems requiring adaptation and sometimes modification, and build quality varying significantly depending on contractor and developer. The warranty period following apartment delivery becomes crucial as residents identify defects and insist on repairs while developers remain contractually obligated to address problems. This process tests patience and requires assertiveness, particularly for immigrants still developing Hebrew fluency and learning to navigate Israeli business culture. The location of Lev HaPark at Ra'anana's eastern edge creates a particular relationship to the broader city and region. Residents live technically within Ra'anana municipal boundaries, accessing the city's schools and services, yet they occupy a peripheral position that requires driving or taking buses for most destinations beyond their immediate neighborhood. The flip side of this location involves proximity to Highway 531 and other transportation arteries, making commutes to Tel Aviv, Herzliya, or even Jerusalem relatively straightforward by Israeli standards. Many residents view their apartments primarily as places to sleep and spend weekends, with weekday lives oriented around work locations and children's activities scattered across the region, the neighborhood itself functioning more as home base than comprehensive life environment. Schools serving Lev HaPark children draw from Ra'anana's broader educational system, with some families choosing neighborhood schools and others pursuing options elsewhere in the city based on educational philosophy, religious orientation, or specific programs supporting English-speaking students. The Israeli system's complexity challenges Anglo parents accustomed to more straightforward school assignment processes, requiring research into various frameworks including secular, religious, and hybrid approaches, plus consideration of how different schools handle immigrant absorption and Hebrew language support. Facebook groups and informal networks become invaluable resources, with experienced families guiding newcomers through decision-making processes that feel overwhelming initially, but gradually become comprehensible through repeated exposure and accumulated experience. The park spaces within Lev HaPark follow contemporary Israeli planning that emphasizes formal playgrounds and landscaped areas over the organic green spaces found in older neighborhoods. These parks feature modern equipment meeting current safety standards, rubberized surfaces cushioning falls, and thoughtful design creating zones for different age groups. Yet they lack the mature trees and established character of older parks, existing in a kind of temporal suspension where the vision of future shade and beauty remains visible only to those who can imagine how saplings will grow into canopies over years and decades. Weekend afternoons see these parks crowded with young families, children speaking Hebrew regardless of their parents' native languages, creating the soundscape of Israeli childhood that transcends any particular neighborhood's character. Religious life in Lev HaPark reflects the area's newness and demographic composition. Several synagogues serve the neighborhood, ranging from established congregations that predate the development to newer minyanim forming as population density increases. Anglo families often find themselves choosing between convenience of location and cultural fit, with some attending nearby synagogues despite style or community differences, while others drive to congregations in other Ra'anana neighborhoods, where English-speaking rabbis and familiar liturgical melodies provide comfort. Shabbat transforms the neighborhood as residents emerge from apartments dressed in holiday clothing, families walking to various shuls, the streets quieter without weekday traffic, creating temporary community coherence that fragments again come Saturday night as secular life resumes. The financial calculations around purchasing in Lev HaPark involve projections about future development and neighborhood maturation that carry inherent uncertainty. Buyers invest not just in their specific apartments, but in the expectation that surrounding infrastructure will develop, that commercial areas will fill with quality businesses, that property values will appreciate as the neighborhood establishes itself and Raanana continues growing. These projections sometimes materialize faster than anticipated while other aspects lag, creating mixed outcomes that vindicate some decisions while leaving other buyers questioning their choices. The Israeli real estate market's relative stability compared to Western markets provides some confidence, yet individual neighborhood trajectories remain unpredictable, influenced by factors ranging from municipal planning decisions to broader economic trends to the intangible qualities that make some areas thrive while others languish. Community building in Lev HaPark happens through multiple overlapping channels. Building-level WhatsApp groups coordinate practical matters like repair scheduling and security concerns, while gradually evolving into social networks, where residents share recommendations and organize gatherings. Neighborhood-wide groups serve broader functions, disseminating information about local services and creating forums for addressing common concerns or planning community events. Anglo-specific groups connect English speakers across buildings and streets, providing linguistic and cultural solidarity that eases navigation of Israeli systems while potentially slowing integration into broader Israeli society. These various networks create layered community structures that residents navigate according to their needs and preferences at any given moment. For families with young children, Lev HaPark offers particular advantages around safety and child-friendliness. The new construction includes secured building entrances with intercom systems. The streets themselves carry less traffic than older neighborhoods with their organic growth patterns, and the concentration of young families means children always have potential playmates nearby. Parents feel comfortable allowing kids to play outside within eyesight of their balconies, fostering the kind of independent outdoor play that characterized childhoods in previous generations, but has become rare in many Western contexts. This freedom represents one of Israel's enduring appeals for families, the relative safety that allows children to roam neighborhoods, walk to friends' homes, and develop autonomy at younger ages than helicopter parenting culture permits elsewhere. Living in Lev HaPark means participating in a neighborhood still defining its identity and character, where social norms remain fluid and community culture continues forming through daily interactions and collective choices. Anglo families here contribute to shaping what this neighborhood becomes, whether it develops into a strongly English-speaking enclave like parts of older Raanana or integrates more seamlessly into broader Israeli society. These early years establish patterns and precedents that will influence the neighborhood's trajectory for decades, making current residents unwitting architects of future community character, even as they simply try to build good lives for themselves and their children in this new corner of Raanana.